Good evening, everyone. How are you? Looks like we've got some interesting opportunities to have a good conversation tonight. So as we begin, let's just kind of take a few good breaths and go into that deep place in yourself where you find the source of your life. And so we pray. Giver of all good gifts, we gather once again in your presence. We thank you for being with us and for good friends like Lois Gibbs. We gratefully pray blessings on Lois and her work, and are so grateful for her works of guidance and encouragement to us. We pray blessings and guidance on all who are gathered here tonight, and all who are a source of support and encouragement. We ask the power of your Spirit to come upon us and on all the decision makers who have the power and the influence to bring this struggle to a life-giving and life-protecting conclusion. Work powerfully in us that resolution concerning the fire that is moving into the neck between the south and north quarries can quickly be reached. We call on your power especially with regard to the EPA, that they may finally stop delaying and may fully expedite what must be done for the common good at West Lake. While West Lake is our immediate concern, good and gracious God, we hold up to you all those who are working to stem the tide of Ebola around the world. Inspire the world's scientists to create a safe and effective vaccine and protect all those working in stricken places from becoming ill. We pray also for our sisters and brothers in Ferguson. May they know your compassion and peace and guide us all to a place of trust and respect in our relationships. We raise these prayers to you tonight, Holy One. You are with us, and we are grateful. Amen.
Okay, as always, we want to thank the operating engineers for allowing us to meet again tonight. Right now, I would like to take just a second for any elected officials to please stand and state your name. Did we get everybody? Okay. Kim Baker with SSM DePaul could not make it tonight, and so she just wanted to make sure that we all knew that SSM Health is supporting us. Dr. Fulton could not make it tonight, but there is a representative from Pattonville School District here, David Winslow. And I have lots of stuff to make sure you guys know what it is here. I passed out a postcard. It is a message to EPA Administrator Gina McCarthy. I would like for all of you guys to sign this and put it in this box right up here. We will take care of the postage. We will get them mailed out. All you have to do is sign them. I don't know if any of you guys have filled these out or seen them up here. This is the Bridgeton Landfill survey. It's on our Facebook page. It's pinned at the top of the page. I know the odors were really bad last night and this morning. If you are experiencing the odors, there's a place on here where you can list symptoms of headaches, nausea, fatigue, whatever it might be, and other things, how you encountered the odor and what you had to do, close your windows, or however the case may be. Also, there is a petition for Bill Gates, and you've probably seen this online. If you haven't signed one of these, they're also in the front. You can sign these. Also, please, please, please share these on Facebook with all of your friends and family and keep this going. We're up to 1,300 signatures on here. Another reminder to keep filling out the DNR odor forms. If you don't know how to fill them out or you have a question, please let one of us know, and you can message us on Facebook or however you need to do it. I'm Karen Nickel, by the way. Okay. Just Moms STL launched a new Facebook page. Some of you may have seen it already. It's in addition to the West Lake Landfill Facebook page. The West Lake Landfill page is a group, and the Just Moms is a page. So the page will show up in news feeds so that you don't have to like make a comment on Westlake and then go in and look at it. This will show up in news feeds, and you'll be able to see it more frequently. So it would be great if everybody could just go on Just Moms STL Facebook and like us. We're up to, I think, 200 likes, and we just started it a week or so ago. So that's really good news. That's okay. Who was at the Lois Gibbs event? Wow. We had about 200 people there, and it was amazing. We learned a lot, and we're going to try to take some of what we learned tonight and bring this all together and see how we can organize and be able to get this out and put some pressure where it needs to, needs to be brought. So in a little bit, what we're going to do is we're going to break out into small groups, and we're going to sit at 4 different tables back here. And we're going to talk about ways to strategize, come up with ideas. There was a CAG meeting Tuesday night. It got pretty heated. Without going into detail, because it'll be up online soon, but the EPA came in and did what they normally do, and when one of our members in the audience started talking about burying children and visiting cemeteries, one of the EPA members thought that that was kind of funny, and he laughed. And I'm very upset about that. I know it angered and hurt a lot of this community. We have to take the energy that we have, and we have to channel that energy into proper ways to put pressure on the agencies and the people, Gina McCarthy, Bill Gates, whoever it is that we need to put pressure on. We need to really turn up the heat. When you're talking about burying children and losing children, that's our children. No matter if It's somebody that we don't personally know. If you're affected and live in this area, you have become our children. We read every single post on the Facebook page. The moms have become very attached to a lot of the people in this community, and we will not tolerate being laughed at. Dawn Chapman's going to give a brief update on some health study information that was released since our last meeting, also a little bit on the fire, and a couple other little things. I want to point out one more thing. There's a sign-up sheet or donation box out here in the front for anybody that would like to donate supplies, pens, paper, notebooks. We go through tons of them. Anything we would be happy to have. Staples, folders, chocolate, whatever. And also Abby Conley, where'd she go? Right back here. She is a student at the University of Missouri. She is doing a photo study on our issue and would like to talk with anyone who would like to share how you are affected by the landfill. So if you want to get with her later, you can talk with her as well. Dawn.
Hello, my name is Dawn Chapman, and I'm going to talk to you about the health department's recent letter that just came out. Before I go into that, I want to explain more about that EPA meeting that Karen just talked about, that CAG meeting. It was in result to these letters that these people were referring to losing their children. We learned at the CAG meeting, and we've learned through these letters coming out, that listen, I can't tell you right now that you're being exposed to radiation, but I can show you documents where in the past, this stuff has sat up here at Westlake for 40 years. There have been specific times in the past where this has gotten off-site and people had the potential to be exposed. So if you want to know more about that, come see me afterwards. I have the documents. I sent those documents to EPA and to ATSDR, the people who are helping with this health study, so that they can be aware of that. As you may have heard on the news, the Department of Health and Senior Services, Harvey, where are you? If I get this right, correct me. If I get this wrong, correct me. And DNR, in response to a group called Coldwater Creek Just the Facts, a group of women who grew up around the airport and have a Facebook page. Some of you probably belong to it. But in response to a survey that they did of illnesses, and after meeting with them countless times and working behind the scenes, the health department has basically come out and agreed that yes, exposure took place in North County, no doubt about it, could be taking place right now, and they've done an unbelievable thing, an unprecedented thing. They've begun a health study to look into historical past exposure, which has never been done anywhere in the world. We were shocked. We thought, well, surely Chernobyl or 3 Mile Island, these places. No, they have never done a health study to see what happens when you live someplace and you're exposed for a long period of time to a small level of radiation. We know what happens to workers who get a large dose, but we don't know what happens to children when they go out to play and then they grow up and become teenagers. We don't have that yet. But some of the health data and some of the illnesses being reported, you know, it's the health department's acknowledging that they're seeing an unbelievable instance just about across the board, with from rare cancers to appendix cancer to birth defects, infertility, childhood cancers, leukemia, you name it. So the first thing I want to point out, I don't know if you can read this or not, but this was a quote by Dr. Gunn, the St. Louis County Health Department. People have a right to know if the environment they live in is safe for them and their families. That's an amazing statement with what we're going through, with how we've been doing this, 2+ years now, to have an elected official and a doctor come out and recognize it and say that was a huge win for us. Huge. Part of the letter that was released, we highlighted some of the really good parts. Statistically significant elevated rates of leukemia among adults and brain cancer among children, all diagnosed from 1996 to 2011. Our zip code's included in that, you guys. That was another thing. For the longest time, they were only going to look at Coldwater Creek in North County. They weren't going to look at 63044 and 63043. Our friends with Coldwater Creek, Just the Facts, pushed and pushed and pushed, got our zip codes put in, and it came back with, yes, you guys have a problem. Now what that means, and if you read the next one, we need to go beyond the years of 1996 to 2011 and beyond just cancer rates. I'm going to say that again. Beyond just cancer rates. That in itself, that's probably the biggest win to us, because for so long we've been saying it's not just cancer, you guys. Our people are sick with autoimmune. They've got lupus, MS, infertility, their teeth are falling out, you know, you name it. And so, you know, the cancer registry is there. You can look back. It's going to be hard to track these people down, but lupus, autoimmune diseases, all these other illnesses, there is no registry for them. They have nothing that they can look at to say what is a normal number. So with this health study, they're going to be developing a plan to do that. That's huge. That's huge. I thought, well, it'll be a wonderful win if they can just track down all the cancers, and they went a step further. So we need to go beyond just cancer rates to develop a more complete picture of what the people in and around Coldwater Creek are dealing with, said Dr. Gunn. We also need to determine if people are still being exposed to any environmental dangers, she added. So the other thing that they did is they asked for help. They asked for help from ATSDR and the federal government to basically help fund the health study and help expedite the cleanup in North County. So again, that was another tremendous win. We're asking all of you, again, our zip codes are included in that. We want to make sure you know that. People who work in the area, if you teach in the area, if you have loved ones in the area, if you have illnesses, we're going to be coming and asking you to report them, self-report them. We haven't figured out who we're going to send them to, probably St. Louis County Health Department. Your names and stuff, they're not interested in that. All they're interested in is your age, when you were diagnosed, and where you lived. Your personal information, none of that will be included. But what it's going to do is, because they have, on the very first pass, acknowledged a problem, they're going to have to come back and do a more in-depth. It's going to help them determine the best way to do that and where to focus. Okay, Ed. These are the cancer maps. I just want to show you the Atomic Veterans List up here. If you guys do not already have this, go to Coldwater Creek Just the Facts Facebook page. Next. Brain cancer and brain tumors. You can see Bridgeton. This data is about 1.5 to 2 years old, by the way. So there are more now. They've gotten so many more in, they can't hardly update them. Next. Appendix cancer cases. We're up to a confirmed 43. We have more, but we don't have official confirmation. That's unheard of. That's just unbelievable. You shouldn't have 8. Next. Lupus cases. We put lupus on here because we know that people who are exposed to uranium, the uranium milltail workers, the miners, they've done studies, and the lupus rates are off the charts.
How wide was your survey to get that graph? Was it just North County, or was it St. Louis to St. Louis County?
It was supposed to be just North County, and then what happened was it's all mapped by zip code and address. So we had people from all over call in, and that's why there are so many zip codes included.
This is a voluntary survey.
Yes.
People from around the country who have moved away basically log where they grew up.
Right. If they grew up here and then they moved and they were diagnosed somewhere else, that's not on this registry. And that's the flaw, is that, you know, wherever you live at the time when you're diagnosed with cancer, that's the cancer registry zip code that you're logged in. They don't log where you grew up, and that's what we're looking for, because that's when these people were exposed. Okay? This is the one that I want to briefly go through. You probably can't see a whole lot of it, but this is on the DNR's website. It's very important that you understand, if you live in Bridgeton and Maryland Heights, you see all those little blue squiggly lines? That's all water. Those are all tributaries and runoff from Coldwater Creek. We know the creek is contaminated. It's still contaminated. They're cleaning it up, but it still has contamination in it. And we also know that it flows towards the Missouri River that way, except at least twice a year it flows backwards. When the rains come, it's kind of like the North County River de Pere. When the rains come, it overflows, and then it flows backwards out these tributaries. Look into Maryland Heights, Overland. Can you see where Ed's pointing over there?
This right here is the St. Louis airport side where the laser's at right now.
Yep.
And then this is Laddie Avenue where it was moved to. And we're concerned that it would backflow into St. Anne.
Absolutely, and what you can't see, this doesn't have Kyle-Meyer Creek on it. Anybody who's grown up in Bridgeton is familiar with Kyle-Meyer Creek. You know, that goes all the way up past BMAC into Hazelwood. We're concerned about that too, and so is the health department. So, next. All right, fire updates. Did anybody read that article in the Post-Dispatch last night? I have to bring it up. Did anybody read that ridiculous article? We'll get to that in a minute. Hold on to that, because we got to touch on that. So basically, the DNR, our wonderful DNR, has come out and said, yeah, you know what? We think that fire's moving forward. Now, to get this right, it is not into the North Quarry that they know of. It is, like Sister Jean said, creeping forward through the neck. It's not supposed to do that, by the way. Wasn't supposed to make it past the interceptor wells. They failed. It did. They're still holding it back or trying to, but again, it's creeping further than they expected it to. So what they've asked Republic to do is, there's a spot in the front of it. Ed, can you kind of highlight the North Quarry with your pointer right there? There's a spot in the front. The fire's down at the bottom. Right there in that middle area where Ed's pointing, it's starting to heat up, okay? The temperatures are rising, but it's kind of like a fireplace, right? You put your hand in front of the fireplace, you can feel the heat. They're thinking that they're hoping and praying that that's, and we need to hope and pray too, that that's just a heat front. But to know for certain, they need CO data to see if there's actually burning taking place or it's just getting hot because it's in front of the fire. So that's what the DNR has asked for. We're playing this silly wait and see game, and I know you guys are getting exhausted. That's part of the reason why we're going to break up into groups. We've really got to step it up, because if that fire moves right now, we're at least 18 months away from a barrier. We have nothing there to stop it. And, you know, it's getting to be really a hairy situation. So, okay. Well, yeah, you think? These are some of the things that they've asked for. Additional carbon monoxide data, okay, to see if the gas interceptor well, to see how well it's working. Continue close monitoring of all data collected from the neck area on a weekly basis, so no longer on a monthly or bi-monthly, but on a weekly basis. Continue review of data by contracted experts. Data is made available on department's website. You can read the rest, but again, I think it's ridiculous that they're having to beg for this. I think that Republic should want to know where that fire is too. So back to the Post-Dispatch article really quickly. I want to make sure you guys know you can get on our website, stlradwastelegacy.com, or on Facebook. We have an ORD report from January. Is it January? When was the ORD? March, where EPA consulted their Office of Research and Development about what some of the risks were if a fire hit the waste. You really need to read that, because they came back saying there is a risk. So that article that you read yesterday, we contacted Mr. Barker from the Post-Dispatch, and he's young, he's new, and said, I don't think you were around back in March where this article came out. So hopefully he takes that into consideration. And you know what? We're not going to go into all the data. We don't need to go into all the data. If you guys want any more information and specific data and specific temperatures, you can kind of see where the North Quarry is. The whole middle shaded area, this is what you really need to see. This is the area where they had proposed to put a cap on. And the red line on this side, and you can't see these wells, they have several wells highlighted up here that indicate that temperatures are rising. So this is the area they're really focused on. It's called the corrective action zone, whatever the heck that means. Basically, Something's happening here, it's not good, so they need to do something. What it is they need to do, they haven't decided. All right. And these are gas and temperature monitoring probes. They have little probes in the ground, for those of you that don't know, that measure the temperature. So, has anybody followed these people on Twitter? Anybody followed them on Facebook? Anybody familiar with this? Linda is. This is a coalition to keep us safe. This is sponsored and set up by Republic Services, Bridgeton Landfill, LLC. They have created a lobby group. It says, don't expose us to radiological material. These people are in Kansas City. They have set up a group to fight us here so that EPA and everybody won't remove this material, because they say they don't want it trucked in trucks through their backyard. It's very important that you know this, because when we break up into groups, I'm going to need some help, some people who are willing to write letters and really expose this. This is, look at this Mominator. She is the one, Molly Teichman. She heads this group, and she also is PR for a hospital in Kansas City, just so you know. Isn't that nice? But she's been paid for by Republic Services. She's in the Post-Dispatch, quoting it. But yeah, the reason this is a problem is because this group is getting together and writing letters to your senators, telling them not to remove this material. And I think that that's ridiculous. First of all, it will never come out in trucks. That's completely false. It's going to go by train. It's going to go by train the same route FUSRAP has taken it. Harvey, we're at 13,000 rail cars. What? 1.1 million cubic yards. 1.1 cubic million yards of this waste have been removed all over St. Louis in about 13,000 train cars over the past decade plus without incident. Okay? So, yeah, that's a round of applause. If somebody comes to you and tells you it's dangerous that they're going to ship this through my backyard, you say, well, guess what? It's not going to be trucked through your backyard. It's going to go to Idaho, where it's going now. And if they say, well, you know, things happen, you can say, well, really, well, they've moved 1.3 cubic million yards of this stuff, 13,000 rail cars without incident over 10 years. Linda.
I just want to talk a little bit about this.
Give her the mic.
Oh,
Now that you're finished, you can have the mic.
all right. Did you hear me? Oh, well, if you go to this website, it's very interesting because people write things in about don't send this in my neighborhood and real scary things, but they don't put their full name. You know, it's Debbie D, it's Linda E, it's Dawn C, and you don't know where they're from or are these real people. You know, that always makes me suspicious when people aren't willing to say who they are.
Agreed. My name's Ed Smith. I work for the Missouri Coalition for the Environment. I just want to add 2 cents about the coalition to keep us safe. They are paid and funded and ran by Republic Services. We know that. They use words intentionally to deceive the public about what would be done if the 2008 decision were to be implemented. That is the cap and leave proposal that the EPA chose in 2008. They use words like in case. That is not what the EPA chose. They keep pushing for the encasement of this radioactive material. The only way for that to truly be encased would be to have it removed and then fully encase it on every side. So encasement is a word that they like to use that's incorrect, and they're just really frustrating. And, you know, that's one reason why Bill Gates, I think there was a slide over here, that's one of the reasons why this petition exists. Bill Gates makes money off of Republic Services. He owns 30% of the company in stocks. He has the ability to tell this coalition to keep us safe to stop it. They've got a slick website with stock photos. I don't know if you saw what the real coalition to keep us safe looks like, but it's these folks right here. Yeah, we're going to start calling us the coalition to keep us safer, or the safest, or something of that nature. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that.
Okay, so at this time, right? Oh. Yes.
Have all of our senators been told that that coalition is a lobby group for Republic?
Yes. But it doesn't matter when they get letters from them.
Yeah, so one last thing. This is what I was forgetting. I knew I was forgetting something. These folks want the 2008 record of decision yesterday. They don't care that the EPA did not consider a smoldering fire a threat to the radioactive wastes. In fact, this campaign launched the same week the EPA's Office of Research and Development came out with its memo that said radioactive material could be released in the event a smoldering fire reached the radioactive material in operable Unit 1, Area 1, both into the air and into the groundwater. So reason doesn't matter to these folks. It's all about dollars and cents. You know, it costs what, $100,000, $200,000 to put together a fancy campaign. And when you look at the cost-benefit analysis of the fact that removing this radioactive waste would cost Republic Services millions of dollars more than putting a lid on it and leaving the problem here in Bridgeton, that's a choice that I think any business would make on any given day. So there's a lot of money going into this on the front end because there's a lot more money for Republic Services to lose in the long run. So keep that in mind. Yeah.
Okay. So now we want to break out into small groups. I know it's a lot of moving around, but we really need to organize and we really need to plan and we need your ideas and we need your thoughts and we need to come together to do this. There's been mention of protesting on the page. We're all for the protesting. However, if you are going to have a Just Moms STL sign or anything with Just Moms STL on it, we ask that you please be respectful. Don't be screaming in people's faces, and I'm sure you guys all know how to demonstrate and protest peacefully. And I know that there's some other people, just by viewing Facebook, that have some really great ideas. So we'll take this time right now to break up. I think we have a couple of categories that we would like to split up into. And
for the categories, we need somebody that's willing to make signs. So if there's a group that's willing to make and hold up signs, specifically, these signs need to be targeted at your senators. That's where we're looking right now. Senator Blunt's office told us, matter of fact, that basically we're not making enough noise. I said, and Karen was on the phone at the time, we said, why isn't this being moved to FOOSRAP? And her exact answer, his staff member, was, the senators will move this when they get so fed up with EPA they can't stand it. Laughing at the death of our children should have been the end of that. And she was there that night sitting in the front row. She got a front row seat to what happened Tuesday night. So that's something that we need. We need people who are willing to make signs. We need people who are willing to get on Twitter or send emails or write letters. And by the way, the tables are back here for you to use. You don't have to. You can talk amongst themselves. Do I have any volunteers to do Twitter?
Mary Kate.
Is that, yeah, Catherine? Mary Kate said that anybody that wants to do Twitter, if you want to come back here, you know, you don't even have to create a real account. You can put a nickname up there and you don't have to post. All you have to do is click retweet. That's what we're looking at. Unless you're comfortable, we need somebody who's willing to send emails, to both senators. Willing to write them too. These don't have to be complicated. Just Senator McCaskill, our kids are sick and dying. Our children's lives should matter more than an earmark, and leave it at that. Does not have to be complicated at all. We need people to organize events like this. A lot goes into this. We need help setting up, cleaning up real quick so that the wonderful people that yell at us, their union hall can get out earlier. If you're not sure what group that you want to be in, just talk amongst yourself and get ideas. We've been watching the page all week, and you guys have some incredible ideas. So
Another thing that we need to be looking at is the local planning emergency committee meetings that are happening. We need some people to be able to attend those meetings and give input. That's the whole shelter in place that you might be hearing about. That committee is formed, and they're supposed to be working on that. We were going to have Mark Dietrich from the emergency response team here, but evidently he couldn't make it. So ideas that you have and that you would like to see, anything from, are the kids going to be safe at school? How are they going to get home? Whatever it is, we all need to start talking about that, and we all need to start participating in that and become part of the solution. We have to get involved with this and start working together.
they've opened a seat at the table for you guys. Those of you who live in Spanish Village, I know there's one way out. It's scary up there. St. Louis County has agreed to let a group of people come and meet with them and help them with this plan. That's amazing. That's citizen oversight of this. The other thing, those of you that were at the CAD meeting on Tuesday, I know who have lost family members and loved ones. We spoke at length with Erin Harmon from ATSDR. I think Kristen Camuso, I think you had a great conversation with her, and Kristen would probably be willing to explain that conversation. That door has been opened. We have a working relationship with them now. For those of you I know who are so passionate, you've lost children, lost parents, lost siblings, if anybody is interested in working with ATSDR about finding all the other people that are ill and helping with this health study, I have to tell you, it might be a little heartbreaking. It's probably going to be somebody who has a heart for this sort of thing, but it's definitely needed. Okay, we have a hand raised over here. Okay, so we have a group over here who's starting, and then we have our Twitter group back here. For those of you that don't feel comfortable working in a group, if you could scoot a little bit forward, we have paper up here. We don't have to break into groups if you don't want to. We can talk about and brainstorm up here, so it's up to you guys. Yeah, Linda. You know, the emergency planning meetings take place once every other month now, but this group would actually, you'd set up whatever times you want to meet with them. If it's once a month, if you want to just have a conference call once a month, if you want to meet once a week. We really need, if there are any teachers in here, we need teachers involved in this. We've got a lot, oh yeah, that's right, former Pattonville teacher. You know, the school and the teachers and the parents, they're coming to us, they're very concerned. They have a reason to be. What's going to happen to our kids? You know, if we're told to shelter in place, do our kids have what it needs to stay overnight at school for a week to 2 weeks plus? That sort of thing. So, yeah.
My name is Paul Berry, a local resident. I'm also a candidate for the 72nd District. And wanted to talk a little bit about political organization. How do we get our politicians to push the envelope? This isn't a Democratic or Republican issue, okay? And what you'll find is that you'll find people in both parties that care or don't care so much. And, you know, what I suggest you do is this. We have 3 weeks to an election, and people are going to knock on your door, and the first question I ask them is, what are you doing for the West Lake Landfill? There's not a state representative or even a state senator that can fix this issue. This is an issue of leadership, okay? Who is going to yell? Who is going to fight? Who's going to push the envelope to get better? You know, if I was working with Karen McClaskill, the first thing I would say is, isn't environment a staple of the Democratic Party? And if I was talking to John Boner, what I would say is, isn't farming important to you in Ohio? Find a way to relate to these people, okay? Now, obviously, they're supposed to work for us. We should be able to tell them, and it should be so. But this is a very difficult issue. Republic donates to both parties. So to say that one party's better than the other, or one politician's better than the other on this issue, they all take money from Republic. Maybe not directly, but if it comes to the party, it's a trickle-down effect. And I don't think you can punish any politician for being part of a party and that mechanism being there. It's just the way that our state is. And the best thing you can do is to educate yourself on the process. You know, when it comes to West Lake Landfill, there's no atheists in foxholes. Remember that, okay? Either you get out, you fight, okay, or get out the way. Thank you.
I think I just heard you volunteer. I think I just heard him volunteer to be the political committee. And you know what, he's right though. We really do need people who are willing to break up and speak with our senators and go and visit them. Yeah.
Dawn, we have a sign company business owner here. If you want to talk to him about coming up with a design, I'll be happy to contribute $100 towards the.
Can you say that again?
Sure. We have a Bridgeton Spanish Village resident and sign company business owner here. I told Dawn if she wanted to talk to him about a design for some signs, I'd be happy to contribute $100 towards the cost of some signs.
Yes.
Make noise and get out and all that. Where are we gonna like stand in the middle of the rock road? I mean, I don't see like any of the businesses like coming out and helping us. I mean, like, is anybody going to any of the businesses, like, say Ponderosa example is right there, if they're not getting the business because of the odor? I mean, are any of the businesses and restaurants coming out? You know how that sometimes when they have the pro-life marches, they do a chain in certain places? I mean, I don't know. I just don't see like any of the businesses are helping us. Are they gonna chase us off their property if we start?
No, there's a place where you can stand in the front. You can stand and peacefully demonstrate. I'll tell you, outside of senators' offices, on the corner down here at the Rock Road, there are plenty of places to stand if that's what you want to do. As far as getting the small businesses, I think the first thing is the school district and the local hospital. Get those big businesses there, acting as a big brother, and then the little ones won't feel bullied, because that's what this company does. They bully. Okay, they bully. So
What is DePaul saying about this?
DePaul's 100% on board. They are one of our biggest supporters. Kim Baker makes every meeting she possibly can. And we have the Franciscan Sisters of Mary here, Sister Jean. You know, we have their support. What we need to do, though, is figure out what to do with it. Now that we have this support, what do? Do we get people to write letters? We need to put, it's about strategic, kind of like Mr. Berry just said, it's strategically putting pressure on the politicians. We have to.
We go on a bus and go to the Jefferson City like the people from Ferguson did, or go to Washington like the pro-lifers did.
Well, and we could do that.
This is like, I mean, playing like one weekend and get
Right.
thousands of people from all these communities.
This is the planning we're talking about. This is the planning that we're
This is what
talking
we're
about. This
talking
is
about,
us
yeah.
talking and figuring these things out.
And the thing is when you get a bus and you go to Washington, who do you see? Do you see Claire McCaskill? Do you see Roy Blunt? If you go to Jefferson City, who do you see? Do you see the governor? And if you see to the governor, what can he do to help this? You know, what can he do to help this situation? He can declare a state of emergency. You know, we have to be real specific now with our asks. Yeah. That's right. Well, right now, listen, there's no reason why this can't go to Foos Wrap tomorrow. There's no reason other than we're not making enough noise. Honest to God, that's what she said on the phone. Honest to God.
Ferguson has had buses already down to the Capitol protesting, which is good, so maybe we should like plan something like that.
Okay. Can I ask a favor of everybody? We are mic'd up, and we can't hear you on the video. unless the mic's near you. Okay, thank you. You had
My suggestion is, think about a year ago and how many people were coming to these meetings. And a lot of people stopped coming. And that's where we need to do, is get some of those people that lived in the area that were concerned and get them re-involved and re-engaged. It's sort of like everything else. The longer it goes on, you know, like, well, you know, it's there, but I've moved on in my life and I'm doing something else. And I can think of myself of 4 or 5 people that came that were quite worried, and they've stopped. And to those that are on the other side, they're looking, oh, there's not as many people at that meeting. You know, look at that. They're just, you know, they've lost momentum. They're not doing as much because there are spies here. Do they want to stand up? I mean, that's just, you know, that's a matter, you know, our mayor doesn't come, but he may have someone here listening on his behalf. You know, Maryland Heights mayor hasn't shown up. Does he have somebody here listening and taking him stuff, or does he care? You know, we don't know. But there were people that came, and they need to get involved, and we need to recontact those people. And they need, like we said, we need something for them to do. Not just come to a meeting, but do something. But you have to, if you're going to do something, you have to have the people show up. You can't go say, well, we're going to stand outside Claire McCaskill's office and have 4 people there.
And it could be stuff that's as easy as putting a flyer up at Schnucks, going around to the different stores and establishments and just penning a flyer for our next community meeting. You know, I think we're going to try to organize a kids event where the kids can make something for Christmas to send to Gina McCarthy. Send her cards for every single holiday. Send her pictures that the kids draw. Send them to Bill Gates. We're going to try to have a bake sale. You know, who out there would make brownies or make cookies? Every little thing you can do helps this community and helps take a little bit of pressure off of us to organize and try to get this stuff going. Yes. Hang on one second. Can we get to the mic? Sorry, thank you.
That's okay. I mean, I can be loud enough without the microphone. I'm with U.S. Bank Home Mortgage, and we work where there's 2 buildings that house way over 500 employees for both buildings. I'm actually in the building that's right next to the Rams Dome, and we smell it, we know it. But I think with both her and I, the other admin that's the other of the building, people look at us like we are crazy. Like they think we are crazy when, I mean, I'm constantly talking about it, talking about the landfill. I don't live here, I live in Afton. But because I work here, this affects me. This affects the people that we work with. And it infuriates me that the fact, oh, I live across the bridge in St. Charles. Really? Does that really matter? The bridge, does a bridge, a river, is anything going to protect you when that wind blows? No. So even though I live in Afton, but I work here, the wind's still going to blow south, it's going to blow north, it's going to blow west, it's going to blow east. And I don't know what to do to tell these people, this is serious. If we got the Rams players involved, and U.S. Bank is the official bank of the St. Louis Rams, we do have contact with the Rams. Though I think if the Rams got involved and they realized they're practicing right next to that landfill, I think it would be a bigger impact if they got involved. How do we go about getting them involved and getting the employers and the employees within? I think people are scared because we need our jobs. I can't go, I mean, I need my job, that's why I stay here. I think they're scared to actually say something. We have requested a radiation machine, though it's not in our budget, and we're looked at like we are absolutely nuts. I mean, how do we go about getting people to take this serious?
They don't want to lose money. I'm telling you, I've talked to a couple small businesses, like, I've been in Walgreens, don't you smell that? Oh, no, we don't want, you know, the one lady behind me there. Oh, well, you know, it comes once in a while. A lot of these businesses don't want to get involved. Well, I'm sorry. A lot of the businesses don't want to get involved because they're afraid of losing a customer base. Rock Road is a major shopping thoroughway for, like, if you ever go down there at noon, it's people from St. Anne and Manchester, or if they're in this area, everywhere. A lot of businesses, I said something to one lady at Walgreens, and she went, oh, well, yeah, they know about the smell, but that's really not dangerous. Okay, so I just went on, I'm just saying that's where we're going to meet a lot of resistance, is getting small businesses to want to let us put signs up. So I don't know what they did at the Love Canal, how they got everybody involved, but they got more mothers and families, I think, than they
did this.
Businesses.
Of course, there was not social media back then, and they went door to door. And what they did was they had, they called neighborhood captains, that someone would volunteer to get the addresses of, say, 5 houses on their street, and they would keep those 5 houses informed of everything that was happening. They would go knock on their door, give them the updates, they would have their phone numbers, and they would stay in touch. Here is the same situation. We're not reaching people that do not either know about this or understand this. And we need to knock on doors. We need to go boots on the ground and reaching out to people in here, North County. This is a regional issue. There's no place in St. Louis or St. Charles that you shouldn't be knocking on a door and letting them know what's happening. This is about education. This is about letting people know what the situation, worst case scenario, could be for them and their family. One thing I did want to mention was, some of us met with the AG a couple of months ago, and we did talk about that at a meeting a couple of months ago. And the AG did point out, Attorney General did point out, that some of the Rams have come forward with illnesses.
It's also a wait and see game, isn't it? There's a game that's being played here with all these little Republic writing these articles in the paper. If we wait long enough, will it resolve itself? And also, will it exhaust us? Will it exhaust the people to where they just want to go home and just put their head under a pillow and just let it happen? I'm going to tell you, hell no. I'm not. No way. But I think that I see a lot of people getting tired, and I think that that's the whole point of this, too, is to get some people involved. Even with the meeting we had with the AG, guys, there are going to be more meetings with the AG. There are going to be more meetings with Senator Blunt and McCaskill's staff. Those of you that live on the front line, love for you to be there. You guys all have stories. How many people have lost somebody to cancer from this? I mean, come on. That is powerful. What happened to you, I'm sorry. I think it's negligent manslaughter. I really do. And well, you know what? Actually, we're getting ready to, aren't we? With this health, listen, this health study's scaring the hell out of them.
You can't prove that your father died of lung cancer in Coldwater Creek due to the radiation.
Well, what's funny, though, in some of those x-rays you can't.
Yeah, I talked to a couple doctors being in the medical field, and that's the problem. You need to have that on the death certificate. Father lived at Coldwater Creek. Cancer was due to long-term radiation exposure over 40 years, and nobody does that. That's why these statistics are low when they should be high. I agree with you, but how do you get that on paper so we have the facts to present? This is a death due to
What you just did is how you get it on paper. You just probably made 10 more people aware of the fact that even if you die of cancer, it may instead say you die of breathing cessation. Even though you died of lung cancer, it'll say you stopped breathing. So then that is not on your death certificate, so you can't search for a cancer death like that. That's right. That's right. And so that's what you just did. You just alerted at least 10 people to that. That's huge, because those people that have lost people need to come forward and say, hey, my dad was one of those, and his death certificate says this, but this is when he was diagnosed and all his stuff. I mean, that's what we need.
Real quick, there's an old saying that says, money doesn't buy friends, okay? Now, Republic might have money, but when people show up in 20, 30, 50 people tend to pay attention. So, you know, it's like when you played football, if the guys are slower, you run different plays, and that's what this takes. You know, if you get 20 people together just on a Saturday for 2 hours and go to a busy shopping mall, when this issue was first brought to me, I got to be honest with you. I've lived here my entire life. I grew up playing baseball at BMAC. I thought it was crazy until somebody that I knew they wouldn't tell me anything crazy told me this was going on. Then I went to my first meeting. How many people in their 30s know about this? How many in their 20s know about this? You know, it's something that they hear, but the advantage that people have here, Republic cannot buy friends, okay? So they're not going to ever show up somewhere with 50 people standing there. They're going to get the mominator. I mean, they might as well make that up in Hollywood, okay? But the fact of the matter is, are they going to show up with people? They're going to play a different game. You need to use what you have as an advantage. You have real live faces. Because you get 20 people together, I might say, he looks crazy, he looks crazy, he doesn't look crazy. And then before you know it, people, and that's how you got to get the momentum. You know, I didn't even want to speak twice, to be honest with you, but I hear people with passion saying, what do we do, okay? You get 5, 10 people together, you pick 2 hours, you don't take all the time of your day because we all have lives, but you dedicate that part to it. You do it responsible. What they got going on in Ferguson is not how you take care of business, and I know people in this room believe the way I believe. It's about coming together and having a message. Get a pamphlet together. People are busy. Say, hey, I know you're busy, just read this when you get back to your car. You know, those are the things you can do. Social media is important. But, you know, what's going to happen is they're going to hire a bunch of programmers, and they're going to try to defeat you. It's going to be who can get the most likes. But they cannot buy friends. Thank you.
I wanted to say something, too. He's right about that. But something that you need to remember, too, we haven't brought up Gina McCarthy yet, but it's really important. She is the head of EPA, the top. Guys, when this video comes out from this past meeting on Tuesday, please watch it. In fact, we'll clip it for you so that it's a 2-minute. You have got to watch this EPA. This is an engineer, a project manager. This guy is responsible for keeping you safe. His name, and I'll say it, Dan Gravatt, is all over these documents at West Lake. This guy laughed. Somebody said, you know what, we're losing our children, and he just went like that. And the guy said, don't you laugh at me. It's not funny. And then he laughed again. We got it on camera. We need to go to Gina McCarthy. She can turn this diffuse rap tomorrow. Tomorrow. She has the ability. She just needs pressure, which is where all your postcards are going. They're going to Gina.
I won't take too much of your time. I know it's valuable. Mahatma Gandhi freed all of his people from physical, from mental, and from spiritual oppression by means of nonviolent action. And I firmly believe that that model can be applied here. It can be applied anywhere where people feel oppressed, where people feel unsafe. And I was reading this article today about Martin Luther King Jr., who is also not just an advocator, but a practicer of nonviolent action. And in his last years, before a year before he was assassinated, he gave a speech beyond Vietnam, and this is where he began to focus more on human rights rather than sort of racial inequalities, because he realized that we are all one race, and that's human. One of the principles of nonviolent action that he emphasized was of building bridges and building understanding. I believe this really reflects what you said as far as being able to connect and relate with people. Mahatma Gandhi also said that he didn't force out the English by making them their enemies. He made them their friends. He connected with them on a human level and was able to bridge that understanding. So I believe that if our elected officials, our senators, these governing agencies are able to understand this community's plight and suffering and oppression, then they, just may listen to their humanity and do something about this. Letter writing is a lost art. A lot of people forget how to really communicate ideas and in more than 140 characters, but if you don't have time tonight, I know we're going to break into small groups and write letters and send emails and things. If you can't find 10 minutes out of your day to write a thoughtful letter, then maybe just take 2 or 3 minutes. Write a very short one, just something to say that I'm here. This is important to me, and please take action. Thank you.
Letters to the editor are also very effective, and call-ins to radio shows for those of you, especially who are home during the day.
I appreciate those comments you made, and I want to note that he's probably a lot younger than a lot of us here, and I like seeing that. We need more people his age to get involved because they're going to be living a lot longer, hopefully, than we are. So that's our future there. And I know, where'd Dawn go? Oh, at the Lois Gibbs seminar, she mentioned that the EPA has in their scope of budget, they have funds and they have the capability to open a clinic in the area here for those that feel like their illnesses that they're experiencing are a direct result of either of the landfill problems. Is that something we need to push them to do? Okay, let's get going on that then somehow. There was another comment.
The CAG. Didn't the CAG pass a resolution on that?
Yeah, the CAG did pass a resolution.
Get on the mic.
Okay.
Shame.
The CAG did pass a resolution asking for that clinic. And to be more specific, this clinic is going to be specifically, and again, it's a resolution. The EPA is going to balk at it, but that's where you guys come in. We need your help to put pressure on them. These clinics are used in situations like this. You can go with illnesses related to the Superfund site. So for us, sinus infection. How many of you guys get sinus infections all the time? Yep, asthma, your kids, do they have asthma problems? Strep throat, sore throat, bloody nose, everything that you'll see on the survey up there, all these little things that we're asking you to check when you come into contact with the odor. Again, this isn't just about cancers, although that's really important screening. This is about illnesses that you get every day as a result of living here. It's about screening. I'll tell you what, I would like to see more people screened for autoimmune illnesses. Where they're off the charts in this area, and so many people live with them for so long. Thyroid screening, that sort of thing. The CAG is the community advisory group. That is the only way EPA will come in town, is if you have a CAG group set up. They don't like to come to meetings like this. Can you guess why?
I got an email from CAG saying, give us your question. So I'm willing to do that, but my question is, why? Why isn't there something being done? And also, your survey, I didn't fill it out because I didn't think that my family had any of those things, but you just mentioned several that we do, so I'm going to go get that. I also think that the person that made the map, Mel, I think, with the whole area that's involved should be saturated in our media saying, if you live within this area or have a loved one that lives within this area, you need to know what's going on. And then just have a couple of bullets, how much radioactivity is there and how close the fire is. Because people are just like, my son and I passed out so many flyers, and blah.
To elaborate on that, it's not just people that live there now. It's people that have lived there in the past also.
One other thing I wanted to mention was, and some people know this because I sent them the website. Our mayor has his own website. It's called mayorbowers.com. He has a letter on there that he sent to the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. It hasn't been published yet. as far as we know. But you're free to go on there and read it. A lot of people have. Some people have responded to him in person. Some people have come up to our council meetings and expressed their frustration and unhappiness with some of the things that he has said and other people have said. But that's a good way to make a point too. Come to our council meetings. We have an open public speaking session at the beginning. You can speak up to 3 minutes. Come up there and let the rest of us know. We're the people who live in Bridgeton. We're your voice, so we want to know what you're feeling and what you have to say. That's all I have. Oh, I think it's okay. Okay, I'll let Linda do that. But somebody asked me tonight, I said, Mr. Briggs is here tonight. He's going to be running for mayor. They said, what does he feel about the landfill? I said, you need to speak with him about that. So I think Terry'd be happy to talk to you about that if you want to talk to him personally. And then I noticed that Mr. Stream's here, so it'll be interesting to see what he has to say about the landfill. Welcome. Thank you.
She was first. She was first.
That's fine, because I've already talked. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Pat Bodeker. I live in Maryland Heights, just on the other side. But my niece, Kathleen Galati, is currently, she's 37, currently undergoing radiation treatment, which sounds really weird now, but for a very rare disease called Rosai-Dorfman that they don't have much info on at all. And she grew up right in the middle of that northern Florissant area. I'm looking on the map there where all those dots are. So I'm going to call my sister as soon as I get home. And they're going through WashU, so I understand WashU is involved in this study apparently. So we'll be on the map.
As Randy Hines said, Ward 2 has a meeting on the 29th of October over at the City Hall, and be glad to have any of you come and attend. And there's always people there that are not involved in the landfill, and it doesn't hurt for them to hear from other people besides myself and Mr. Grimmer, and hear other people talk. And the other thing went right through my head. Darn. Oh, Manhattan. If it's a perfect time right now, the series Manhattan has been on WGN every Sunday night. And what are they talking about? What's it about? It's about making the bomb. And where did the stuff come from? Here. And where is the stuff? A lot of it's still here. It's like a perfect opportunity to segue into that. You know, and why should we be left with stuff in this area?
Rich Williams right here in the front row in the blue shirt, will you raise your hand? Rich Williams volunteered to help organize subdivisions and get kind of group captains in areas so that when we do pass out flyers, you know, we're not having to take, you know, street after street after street. We can break it up into small, manageable areas. Yeah, and Rich also made this for us, by the way, which is really, really nice. It's important to understand that we do have that support. The other thing I want to bring up for the lady who just came forward about your niece, Sister Jean, can you raise your hand? The Franciscan Sisters of Mary, twice a month on Wednesdays, hold prayer vigils. You guys, if you've never been to one, even if you're not spiritual, boy, doesn't it feel good to know that somebody's praying for you. It just means a lot. It's goodwill, it's good intention, and I tell you, I cannot stress enough for you to go to these, or just those 2 Wednesdays a month, just sit at home, 10 o'clock in the morning, look at your clock, and know that there are people praying for you. He really is, and I really think it's carried us through a lot, this community. That's right, but I mean, you know, just even if you can't make it, like I said, look at the clock. twice a month on Wednesday, 10 o'clock in the morning. Know that there are a whole bunch of people that just saturate all of you in prayer. Does anybody, right now, I know we've got a lot of suggestions here and we've talked. We didn't do small groups. That's fine. We don't have to. Is there anybody interested in Twitter and learning how to tweet? It's so easy. And listen, man, I can't even check the messages on my voicemail. Okay, my husband still does that for me. If I can retweet something, you can do it, I promise. Hi, Tracy. Okay, so Tracy, what's your last name? Tracy Robinson, back over here, is going to work on what the schools can do. Suggestions, parents, if you have children, these are the ladies to go to for that. Linda?
Emergency management kind of thing?
Yes.
Emergency management, I'd like to help with that.
Okay,
I mean, I'm
so-
looking at people in Spanish Village and the mobile home park and people that live around there and worries they have, and how do you get out of there, or what do you do other than shelter in place?
And you know, the important thing too, there's so many different things with that, right? What are we gonna do with our pets, right? Or if we're at work and there's a shelter in place, who's gonna come by and get our pets? If we're not gonna be allowed to go home, you know, things like that, little details. Those of you that live there in Spanish Village and that live really, guys, this is within a 10-mile radius of this site. So it goes well into St. Charles. Hey, you know, those of you that are working on the schools, Hazelwood School District, all those, and I know Dr. Fulton mentioned reaching out to those districts and getting them involved, but that needs to happen.
One other thing is when you want to make a phone call and you're not sure what to say, we can give you a script to basically go by, but you can form your own words by it, the same with letters. And if anybody wants any documents that we ever have, just let us know and we can email them to you.
And you know, the thing about a phone call, I want you to, I said this before, I didn't understand this until a state representative told me, you do not have to send 200 emails. If they get 10, they automatically assume that there are more people than that feel that way, but just don't have, you know, are afraid to send them in or whatnot. So it's not as though we need 3,000 emails to Senator McCaskill. We need a few of them well-spaced. They need to say the same thing, and they need to just keep coming. The other, one more
Dawn,
thing. Yeah, go ahead.
I haven't said much tonight. I got a cold. I guess I smelled too much of that landfill. But anyhow, I'd be glad to work on the publicity and demonstration type, whether it be fundraiser or just putting things out in the local papers and that. I'd like to work on that kind of a committee. I think we've done that.
Yeah.
We have been putting ads in the local light.
And we appreciate that.
But what I found out is through that local light is not distributed in Spanish Village. I heard it was once upon a time, but it was no longer when I asked the editor of the local light. So we got to put some pressure on him to get that out there to the Spanish Village people and somehow get it into the trailer court over there.
Okay. And I was going to say one more thing, too, for those of you that want to stand out and hold signs. There's another option, too. You don't just have to stand here on the Rock Road. It's election time, and a lot of these senators are going to fundraisers. Those are publicized. You know, you can go to a fundraiser. We've been we got to meet the governor thanks to State Representative Jill Shoup. She purchased each of us a ticket so that we could go meet the governor, and I believe, Ed Smith, it's called bird dogging? It's called bird dogging. It's when you go to an event like that and you take every opportunity you can to bring this issue up. We were very respectful. We just said, Governor, people are hurting, we're scared, we're from West Lake, and he knew about it, but guess what? Every time one of you does that, he remembers your face. He knows that we're real people. You know, we have nieces that are ill and nephews. We're not just dots. So, does anybody have anything else that they'd like to say?
Mine is just, I was going to help with the publicity. I talked to a lot of the neighbors of Spanish Village, the elderly, that I know because I've been there so long. I think that we need to do like the old Detective Gumshoe, or is that what it's called? But I mean, going door to door and maybe giving some of these people who don't have the internet. I'm one right now because my computer's down, but a lot of the elderly don't have the computer, don't know how to get on Facebook, and maybe hand out like these green things, and we need to get the people in St. Anne and Breckenridge and where you live. I mean, where are all them people? Because, you know, Bridgeton's population has decreased. And just in our subdivision, Spanish Village, you know, a lot of them are elderly, not all, but some that, and have taken, they're not involved. I can just tell you that because of their age.
But we do have an
Not
ability to.
these people are young. I'm been there 25 years, so I'm talking about, they're older than me and I'm old. But
Right.
what I'm saying is that a lot of them might want to fill out a green form, but you say download it, they don't know, they don't even have a computer. I'm just saying if that would help, I can pass those out, you know, to people that don't, you know, that
Right.
don't know what the word computer download means.
I will tell you, you'll have the opportunity, if anybody's available Saturday morning, we are knocking. We are meeting in Pattonville High School parking lot. We're knocking. Bill Otto, representative, is walking as well. We're getting as many people as we can together. We're coming up with pamphlets and literature to pass out, and we're knocking on doors. So if anybody would like to volunteer, that is this Saturday. 10 a.m. this Saturday, we're doing that. So it's a chance for you to meet your neighbors and really kind of get the message across. The other thing that I need is I would like to get a group of people together to go to county council, St. Louis County Council. And listen, this smell goes all the way, okay? They smell it in St. Anne, they smell it in Hazelwood. There is a nuisance. That's, you know, the city of Bridgeton has the ability to do that too, you guys. They have the ability to fine this company for a nuisance. Why isn't St. Louis County doing that? Okay, that is another way that they can help put pressure on this. They smell it too, and you know what, even if they didn't smell it all the way downtown in Clayton, you smell it every day, and you're part of St. Louis County. So yeah, they need to be sticking up for you. There's a lot the county can do.
Get on a mic, Harvey.
Mike,
it's back.
Come here.
Okay. Can the camera hear me? Okay. Just as a follow-up to what Dawn said, there are handouts in the front on a table out here about the time and location of the Walk for Bill. But I also want to point out on the back side, we have the phone numbers for our congressional delegation. So for those of you who don't want to tweet, write, or email, you can always just call. Good old-fashioned telephone works too. So those numbers are out there on the back side. Hope to see you on Saturday morning.
Other like really creative ideas, I don't know, Mr. Yuck stickers to Bill Gates, I don't know, poison labels, whatever you guys can come up with. Wendy?
I do have a couple of unique ideas. Hold on. One of my suggestions would be for anyone who lives in an individual municipality to go to your own county council. Obviously, Bridgeton's county council is very involved with this, but go to your Hazelwood, Florissant, University City. Go everywhere you can with a prepared statement. They usually allow public statements to be made in the first few minutes of the meeting, so really take advantage of that time. Also put pressure on these same people because Republic largely has a monopoly contract for trash service. So if we say to them, we need to get a different trash service because these people are poisoning our environment, then maybe they'll think twice before they renew their contract.
I want to introduce, it's called Candidate, right? Sorry, we don't do this very much. Sorry, Candidate for County Council, Rick Stream. I'd like to say a few words.
Well, thank you. I'm Rick Stream. I'm state representative from Kirkwood, and I'm running for St. Louis County Executive. This problem here in Westlake is a very, very, very serious health problem. And it needs to be treated that way by everybody involved, the federal government, state, county, municipalities. I applaud you all for the work you're doing here tonight. I've talked to a number of the parents over the last couple of months. Dawn came to my meeting, my town hall meeting last night. We talked about this situation. And I'm going to stick around afterwards if you want to come and talk to me. I would offer a couple of suggestions. You've talked about contacting political people. Let me give you some advice. Don't send what we call blast emails to politicians. I get on any given day in the Capitol down in Jefferson City, I get 1,000 contacts. All right, 1,000 emails or voicemails or phone calls or whatever, letters. The most effective way to contact your senator, state representative, county council member is a handwritten letter. I know that's kind of outdated. I remember one of the young men back there mentioned it. But it's the most effective way. You don't have to make it a long letter. But if a handwritten letter comes into my office, that's the first thing I read. All right, it's before I read the emails. If it's a blast email, which what I mean by that is one person writes an email and everybody sends in the same email. All right, make your emails personalized. Talk about your situation, how it's affecting your lives or your family's lives or the neighbor's life or something like that. Make it personal to get their attention, all right? And I would recommend that each one of you knows who your state representative is, and I think Bill was here earlier. There he is over there. If he's your state representative, he already is engaged, you know, so he doesn't probably need to be contacted, but you have a state senator, all right? You have a congresswoman, I guess, I'm assuming this is Ann Wagner-Stiffers.
The congressional district literally splits the landfill in half.
Okay, that's right, it does. Lacey Clay and Ann Wagner. Well, write them both. You know, write them both. I'm not sure how effective it is to come down to Jefferson City. Somebody mentioned the Normandy situation. Trust me, that was not productive. Those kids should have been in school in Normandy instead of coming to the Capitol. And we were already going to fund the school district. I'm the budget chairman, so we already had Normandy covered. It was a mistake. But if you do come down, make sure you know who you're going to visit. And you don't have to visit just your state representative or just your state senator. I would go to the leadership in the House and the Senate. Republicans control the legislature. The governor is a Democrat. Visit the governor's office and visit the speaker's office and the floor leader's office in the House and the Senate if you go down there. You can also write them, too. Now, the impact, of course, of dealing with the state government is the State Department of Natural Resources. All right, that's where you're going to get your impact. Congressional, of course, you've got EPA impact. The county health department, you know, I know there's a lot of dissatisfaction with the county health department. But I think you just got to continue to pound away at this issue. You cannot let it die. And if I'm elected, it's going to be the first thing I deal with. I'll start working on it November the 5th, the day after the election. All right? Because this is so important, not only just, it's very important for all of you, because you know what I've read and what I've heard tonight and what I've heard from other people is that people are dying. And if it were my family that lived up here, I would be angry, really angry. And I've seen a lot of reserved comments here tonight. I might be a little more angry than you all have. Maybe you've already shown your anger. But it's like with the school situation in those failing school districts. If it were our kids or grandkids in those schools that were failing, and we had no financial wherewithal to get out, we couldn't put them in a private school or move to a better district, wouldn't we want the schools to be better? The same thing here. If it's my kids or grandkids that are up here, I would want this fixed, one way or the other, without the serious financial and health issues you're dealing with. I will stick around in the back. Thank you for letting me speak.
What do you plan to do on day one if you get elected?
On November the 5th?
Yeah, you said that you're going to start working on this on day one. What do you plan? What's your plan?
Well, first of all, from the county perspective, we've got the county health department, whatever reports or dealings that they've had. I'm going to have to review all of those. I mean, we're going to start doing this right away because I won't go into office until January the 1st. So I can't officially do anything until January the 1st, but I'm going to start working on reviewing the documents, talking to people like Dawn and this whole group to find out if there's anything more that we need to know from the group, see what the county can do. I'll be an advocate for the people up in this area with Congress, with Ann Wagner and Lacey Clay, and I'll also be working with the state legislators on the Department of Natural Resources and see what if we can come to some solution.
Do you support the Corps of Engineers fumes wrap taking over the landfill?
I don't, I'm not making any commits. I don't know exactly what that is. I mean, I know fuse wrap, but I'm not going to support something that I'm not familiar with. I don't want to say yes or no on that until I review it.
Wait, hold on. Wait a minute, we need your mic.
You supported a bill that the Post-Dispatch called the Free to Pollute bill that would exempt companies like Republic from the West Lake Landfill, that would exempt them from liability. Can you explain that?
Well, I'm not sure if they got their information right. I don't know what's the bill number. Okay. No. Well, let me check it out, and I'll get back with you on it.
I believe it was Senate Bill 731 that State Senator Kurt Schaefer, who's also a partner at Lathrop Gage and represents Republic Services, added an amendment that said essentially that no certain lawsuits could be brought against a company that was negotiating in good faith with the Environmental Protection Agency, the Department of Natural Resources, or the Attorney General. And it looks like an exact carve-out for the situation for Republic Services here at this particular landfill. It was known as the Schaefer Amendment, and it appeared to be a huge conflict of interest.
Well, it probably was. It shouldn't have been added.
I can't believe a man who's ready to run for county executive doesn't already know where he stands on this issue, whether it's FUSRAP or not. You should have made up your mind. If you're going to run for executive, you should know where you're at. This is the biggest danger that's come to St. Louis County ever. How are you going to deal with it? He just asked you, and you said you didn't even know whether you would vote FUSRAP in or not, or whether you would push it or not.
I'm going to evaluate and see if that's the best thing to do. I mean, there are a lot of options out there. And I'll take a look at all. I'm not going to rule anything out.
To repeat, you kept saying, Mr. Stream.
We're gonna not do political right now. Mr. Stream's around to speak with him afterwards. Let's not lose focus of what we just did and accomplished. We're passing out cards here. If you guys want to volunteer, please come and sign it. I'm passing them out to you guys right now. Feel free to talk amongst yourselves. The tables are still in the back for you guys to meet at. Thank you.
The next CAG meeting, Community Advisory Group meeting, is December 8th. Our next community meeting is going to be November 13th, next month. Thank you. Yes, here. Thank you all for coming out. You can stick around and talk to whoever you need to. Oh, yeah, that's mine.
So when the community advisory group, when do they meet?
The Community Advisory Group meets on December 8th.
Where at?
Here.
Here, okay, what time, do you know?
6:30.
8 at 6:30. And what is that group exactly, or I heard you talk about them, but what do they do?
They're a more structured group, and the EPA, the engineers, whoever other speaker that the CAG president approves to speak, they come and they speak to the community, to the CAG group. It's open to the public, anyone can come, but you have to attend so many meetings to be a member, and so it's a more structured meeting